We've been doing a series in our podcast focused on the customer perspective. I know I get a lot of questions from all of you around, how to make customer success work from a tactical perspective. And what we're doing over the next month or so is getting the real customer perspective on what makes their solution successful, as well as what makes them decide to do nothing and or to continue trying to find another solution. So today we have a fabulous guest. Her name is Heather Baker. So Heather, welcome. Heather is the head of sales and marketing for Numetric. And this has been a long time career. What, Heather, you've been in running marketing organizations for 15 plus years now?
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. It's such a pleasure to have an opportunity to speak with you today. Obviously, both marketing and sales and better understanding how to deliver value to customers is something very near and dear to my heart and functions that I focus on. So I appreciate the opportunity to join you.
Thank you. So we're super excited to have you. This is, the marketing organizations are really a big target for a lot of technology today. They're all trying to figure out how to get a play in these marketing organizations and how to optimize, whether that's demand gen, sales enablement, brand management, whatever that is. So I know a lot of people are going to be really interested in your perspective from a customer trying to utilize these tech stacks for how to run an end-to-end marketing and sales organization and how they all work together. So thinking about that from that perspective, when you think about some of the technology you do use today, what has made it very successful in your organization, highly adopted, really running your operations, and what was the key to that? Thinking about it from just the technology perspective, but also as a company that you are partnering with in that technology, what did they do to help you be successful?
Yeah, I always have a lot of compassion for people that are marketing to marketers and or selling to individuals that are focused from a sales perspective because I think you have to work even harder because it's obviously a function and discipline that we as marketers eat, sleep, and drink on a daily basis. And certainly the area of purchasing technology has, as you know, shifted quite dramatically over the last, 8 years. Marketers, CMOs specifically, have, and oftentimes a lot of organizations, as much budget to spend on technology as kind of the IT side of the house. So I have had an opportunity to purchase software many times throughout my career. And the things that I really look for I'm looking for a software solution as well as a partner that's going to provide value. So, if I think of when I'm purchasing a marketing automation platform or a sales productivity or a sales development productivity tool, the thing that matters the absolute most to me is what value is it going to deliver to us as a team. So if it's a marketing automation platform, is it going to deliver value to me in being able to gain insight into the data to make more data driven decisions as a marketer so that I can better understand the attribution associated with different tactics and engaging with prospects. um,
And is there a certain value in any of those areas that makes it more sticky than others? Because I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. They think that they're delivering value to you, but it's not really the value that you think is really worth the investment.
yeah, for me personally, better insights into being data driven as a marketer. So if it's giving me visibility to dashboards around campaign performance, is something that's really meaningful for me. If I think about technology that we have on the sales development side of our team, it's technology that's easy to use, that's going to allow the sales development team to cut some of those steps out that they may be manually doing today, that will allow them to focus more of their time and energy on more value driven resources for our target market, right? If
Right.
I have technology that's delivering value and taking steps away for them to have to do, multiple emails that can help automate some of that, that to me is value.
Okay.
I'd rather have them focus on conversations with prospects rather than, today is day 3 in a cycle of an email campaign. I have to send out emails to, this audience of 150 people. So that's kind of what I'm defining as value.
Okay. And is it data for data's sake, or are you now looking for them to do some data interpretation?
Yeah, great question. I think that it's definitely offering up, oh, this is an area of focus that you may want to focus on. I think that best case scenario. I mean, I can remember when marketing automation platforms were just starting to get into delivering data around funnel performance, and funnel conversion rates and things like that. Just giving me access to that data for data's sake, so that I then, my team, could better understand the performance of things. Now there is definitely offerings that can say, this is an area that you may want to focus in based off of the data that the solutions are gathering.
Right. Yeah. And I'm starting to see that in the competitive field too, is they expect more out of the technology. Um, they don't want to just have, or I'll just say the customers are saying it's great that you have a great piece of technology, but then you're just dumping more data and more information for me to try to figure out what to do with.
Yeah,
And it seems to be the players that take it one step further, whether that's a combination of the technology and services, or the technology is just that great that it can actually interpret that data and start to give you the lay of the land, insights, priority, kind of the what's working and what's not
yeah,
working on a, because if you think about how long sales and marketing have been around, we've kind of mastered the idea of what really works, from a framework perspective. And so I think a lot of players are trying to capitalize on that, but it would be interesting to hear your perspective on if that your expectation now, because if the price is, cheap, is it because you have to go figure all that out for yourself, and you're in a place where it's like, listen, what I'm really looking for is the all in. Like, you come with the technology, you come with an approach, you come with maybe people or expertise, and you really provide kind of a foundational, whether it's automation combined with great data insights, accuracy to the data, as well as some kind of interpretation. How
yeah.
far do you need that to get solidified from the vendor's perspective? How much do you expect them to help you get there?
Yeah. So, just to further clarify, because I think that what I mean by value, it's not necessarily, it's not that it has to be inexpensive. What you're hitting on is exactly another really important component for me when making a decision about partnering with a company. Um, what is, I mean, being in sales and marketing, what is the experience with the sales rep? Do they truly demonstrate that they understand my problems and that they understand my business? And do they have, and this may be something that's more about me specifically as a buyer, but, have they done their research? In understanding the challenges that I might be facing, and so that they understand how the solution that they're bringing to me to evaluate, or, in optimal cases from their perspective, I'm coming to them saying, I'm interested in your solution. I know that this is going to cut steps out. So it's really building a partnership with someone that is knowledgeable, to your point, about more than just, here's, a solution that plugs one very specific need, but developing a partnership where they truly understand, these are things that we know you're having challenges with, and then I can leverage their technology, to your point, to be able to gain insights into some of those things that the data may be telling me. Um, for me, this doesn't this isn't the end all be all, and just certainly doesn't beat out what is the solution actually helping challenge it's helping me overcome. But having a partner in the account team and the company that truly demonstrates that they're putting the effort in to be my partner, and understand the world that I live in is very important to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Someone that's hard to work with, is, you know, it's painful.
Right. No, I agree. I think that, that's a interesting enough, even going from different industries and talking to customers across the industries. I think that's the number one thing I've heard over and over and over again. Do you really understand me? Or are you coming in and giving me the same standard pitch you give, whether I'm in marketing or I'm in finance or product, or whether I'm in financial services or manufacturer, whatever? You've got this pat, company pitch, and it doesn't play well because the other element that I found interesting is there's a lot of people out there talking about, oh, that time to value thing. It's so old school, and there's really not that's not really where the focus is, and it's not so much about an element that's being focused on. It's just that there are several elements that you have to consider when you're really going to be customer centric about trying to make them successful. And I like that
Yeah.
it's about knowing your business, knowing your challenges, being a real knowledge player with you so that you can help them get there. But that's kind of bringing me to my next question, kind of as a follow on, is how important is time to value to you? If somebody comes in and goes, "Yeah, I can do all this for you." Is your expectation these days that, listen, you got 30 days, you got 60 days. I don't have 6 months to give you or 8 months to give you. How
Yeah.
important is that for you?
Yeah. I mean, it certainly depends on the scope of the project,
Yeah.
right? But I can tell you, in my experience of even doing something as major as, a full rip and replace of a marketing automation platform, it is critical to be able to have, I think, a clear set of expectations, on when we are going to start to see value. That doesn't necessarily mean that per se a whole implementation is done within 30 days, but that it starts out with clear communication around understanding, here's what you can expect by when, and here are some of our milestones of success.
Right.
This happens to us when we are selling, that, it's absolutely critical to the success of that partnership to really make sure that those things are very clear. And we get it on when we're selling, and unfortunately we, do this when we're buying as well. Oftentimes the time frames get collapsed, because if we're spending resources, both people as well as program dollars, to implement something, I have to show that it is impacting our results positively within a certain amount of time, to my stakeholders. So
Right.
I think that the actual time frame itself varies depending on scope, but it is definitely one of the things that is top of mind for me when I'm looking at a solution.
Yeah, and I like the way you put that because, like you said, time to value can be all over the place, and but what's the plan?
Yeah.
What are the key milestones, and do I agree that that's effective for us, or do you feel like, well, those are a bunch of low end values? You mean it's going to take you, so that you can understand it needs to be realistic, but then there needs to be some kind of a value being brought
Yeah.
there on a regular basis, so it's not taking you a year from now to get there, because then you might look at another solution, right?
Yeah.
Or another type of platform. So it sounds like it is still a part of your decision making process, and also your process for, do I'm going to continue to use you?
Absolutely. I mean, evaluate for me, evaluating all of those things about a potential partner, someone I'm going to buy from, is I start from the very moment that we first engaged in a discovery call, right?
Right.
Those very first engagements, if those demonstrate how it would be to partner with someone, and certainly probably more so, if you're not good in the beginning, it's not going to get better after we close the deal and we pay. from a customer success perspective. So those things are very important. I mean, this goes back to the whole partnership element, establishing trust that, you're going to do what you said you're going to do and that you understand who I am. Those things are critical because it's my reputation. If we do a full rip and replace of a marketing automation platform, or if it's something as simple as signing up for a pay per lead program from a vendor that offers a software solution, that they're selling me on helping me reach my target market, my ideal target market. It's my and my team's reputation that's on the line when it comes to, being able to deliver to our customers and stakeholders internally and across the organization, on the things that we've committed to.
Right. Yeah. No, those are great points. Before I flip that question on you, is there anything else that you want to share from your perspective as some of the key things that you look for in a vendor to partner with that we haven't talked about? Because then I'm going to flip the question on you and ask you what makes you rip and replace and or do nothing.
Yeah, I think that, again, I kind of touched on this at the beginning. Being that this is the world that I live in, and a bit of a nerd when it comes to what like engaging with customers in a sales cycle and things like that. I think that there's so much for me, placed in demonstrating that you understand and that you're listening. Um, I think both as a buyer as well as, being a sales and marketing leader, when we're engaging with our own prospects, I think so often we forget that this has to be a two-way value exchange, that your prospects, something as simple as getting on a discovery call. We all know what a discovery call is in software, right? Whether
Right.
we're selling. And as a buyer, having to repeat myself several times, even when I can very clearly, there's no guessing. I'll tell you where I'm at in the buyer's journey
Right.
because I know what it is, but not listening to me and then demonstrating that you understand what I'm saying to you. That those are things that are pretty important to me.
Yeah. And I know I've been in a few sales cycle. You and I work together at Workfront, but I remember a few sales cycles there where in the end, I remember the customer flat out saying, "Well, I just want you to know one of the main reasons we chose you is because you really got us. You listened, you came back with something very on target. We've we actually could see our business running on your solution because
Yeah,
you were really showing us that you understood our business, our challenges, and you just showed us in a very short period of time just real solutions to those problems, like
yeah.
as if you could
I
work
think
here tomorrow."
yeah, I think something in that vein too. That doesn't always mean agreeing, right?
Right.
And if I'm partnering with, a solution provider, and we've established a relationship of trust even through the buying, the initial stages of the buying cycle. Um, I expect that if something that I'm talking about is flawed and you're an expert in that area, that you're going to bring that up, right?
Right.
And at least pose the question for me to be thinking about, um, why something might not be the best approach.
Right. A bit of that challenger sales
Yeah.
model, but like you said, in a very professional way. Have you thought about
Yep.
there are some other, people in your market that are doing things in some of these new ways. Have you thought about that? And,
Yeah.
I think that's a super great point that we sometimes forget. Being customer centric means you're involved with the customer all the way from how marketing introduces your company as well as through the sales cycle. So everybody gets focused on the back end of implementing and keeping them, but to your point, if I do all those things right up front in my, marketing and sales motions and experience with the customer, boy, it probably makes everything so much easier down the road rather
Yeah.
than trying to figure it out back then and now they're like, you guys just don't seem like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the times when I have purchased from a company when they've kind of done some of those things wrong, it's because it's, you know, something that it's a solution area that like they're the only ones that provide it, or
Right.
right, something that I can't live without. So, you know, but I think ultimately those are the things that, you know, lead to making a move away from a vendor, right?
Right.
Is if, you know, I made a decision to go with a vendor and it was because I couldn't live without it at the time, but they, you know, started out as hard to work with or not knowledgeable about my challenges as a customer or knowledge about the solution area that they were helping me solve. Ultimately, you know, those will be reasons why I would move away from a vendor too.
Right. And if you think about now that we're going to kind of flip that question, thinking about technologies that you have used, and then you've decided to move on to another technology. Um, maybe give some insights into, I know it's not always just one thing that happens. Usually it's a series of things. Because I do know, like you said, those marketing platforms, it's a big investment. It's a lot of data to migrate, and get yourself set up and moving and operating effectively with new technology. So if you decide to rip and replace, what makes you go down the road of, okay, this is just not working for us anymore? And maybe talking about both what happened in the product, like product buggy,
Yeah.
downtimes, whatever, as well as then the services, the support arm, and what you needed to sustain it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me as a buyer, you're right. It's never one thing. Um, it's, you know, I think that having a high level of empathy for especially software companies, being that, you know, we're a software company, it is never one thing. But I think that the times when I've ripped something out completely is because our adoption and utilization is just really low. Um, you know, if it's a solution that we're just no longer using, I think that, you know, the use cases of that probably come top of mind is, you know, kind of on the sales development side of things. You know, if it's a sales tool that the team's just not using anymore. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the vendor isn't doing a good job of providing a good solution. It may be that we just don't have the bandwidth to take that on at that time. We thought we did, but we don't now. So, you know, that is certainly something. I mean, I've had instances where the cost just became so prohibitive for us to continue, that was sort of the final straw that got me to be open to looking at something else. You know, not necessarily moving, but it all starts with, all right, well, what else is out there, right?
Right.
Um,
What is,
and
when you think about that lack of adoption and the lack of usage in those cases, was there anything the vendor could have done to make it easier for them to adopt? Do you think, if you're, there's a lot of tools coming on the market like
yeah,
that, right? You think of, everybody always uses Slack as a really good example of, hey, plug and play, go, and
yeah,
it becomes viral very quickly. But there's a lot of solutions that start out with a small piece of that, but there's just not enough value with that tiny little piece that's semi viral or automatic or easy. And there's not enough value, or let's just say it doesn't transform somebody's ability to be more effective in their job
yeah,
fast enough and easy enough. And I get that question a lot from vendors on how do we, infiltrate these fast growing companies where they don't have time. But
mm-hmm.
what would help them? What kinds of ways do these organizations need these vendors to provide information via, online webinars, in person, virtual? Like what
Yeah.
else, or is it all in product or nothing kind of a thing?
No, I mean, I think it's again, I think it's a mixture of tactics that are effective. I can say for me, best practice content is really valuable. That could be in, you know, the medium of short emails that I can consume really quickly that tell me about upcoming features that they're coming to market with, a vendor's coming to market with that they know are challenge areas. either a challenge area with their existing solution today, we're going to be able to finally do this thing that people have been asking us for, or we know that marketers or sales leaders are having XYZ problems because our other prospects and customers are telling us that they are. Did you know that you can do this, this, and this? I think that coming up with an integrated approach by persona is really important as well,
Mm-hmm.
because the reality is, even though I'm the one that may be making the final decision about a sales productivity tool or a marketing automation platform, I am not the end user of that all of the time, right?
Right.
I have different people on my teams that are end users of that. So coming up with a multi-touch approach that is still integrated around some of those best practice messages and some of those messages around helping increase adoption and utilization. For example, a message about, in a sales automation platform, we just came out with XYZ thing, tactic that's going to allow your reps to be 15% more productive in reaching prospects. Um, that same message uh, tweaked for a sales development rep would be a bit different, right? How can
Right.
you save more time in your day? But touching both of us with those messages is really important, because at the end of the day, I'm inundated with email and meetings and things
Yeah.
like that, that if they can make sure that the message is also getting to some of the end users, that is really important and meaningful as well.
And if that were backed up, let's say it's an email and it's a hot message and you go, "Ooh, interesting." Is video, like if it's a short 2-minute video and goes, "Let me just show you how it would work."
Yeah,
Are you finding that more effective for the team because they are more visual? Let me just see it really quick and then I'll see if I can go do it versus
yeah.
trying to read all the content and then figure it out.
Yeah, a company that we work with that has done a really good job of that is Outreach.
Ah,
Um, Outreach has done a great job from a sales automation perspective. Their customer success managers do it quite often as well. So, if I have a question for our customer success manager about something, the way that our platform is set up, I don't have the luxury of, I need it fixed sooner rather than later. I need to know how to get to that report. And they send me short, like, videos of screen grabs where they say, you click here, here, and here, and I can fix it myself. And it might not be a problem, right? It's
right.
just a user knowledge thing. They're helping me better understand how to do this. So yeah, I have found that short videos like that are effective.
Okay. Good. Yeah. I know that was a debate. We were talking through, I was talking to some people at Pulse at the Customer Success Conference, um, because I think that's their big challenge. Everybody comes up with all this content and then they
Mm-hmm.
blast everybody and they're like, we're getting no response because everybody's so over marketed, over emailed, over everything. And so it's how do I get their attention?
Yeah.
Because, the biggest challenge for every company, it doesn't matter what the software is throwing bodies at a problem of I'm growing fast and I have a lot of customer requests coming at me, therefore I need more people, more man hours is your highest cost line on your P&L.
Yeah.
And most companies can't scale by throwing more people at it.
Yeah.
So they have to figure out the tech touch and they've got to figure out, like you said, how to integrate that using technology mixed with some real, competent content, following those best practices and utilize it effectively, meaning
Yeah.
don't kill them. With
Yeah, no, but I think that that's a really, I know that I'm constantly reminding my team, and this kind of goes both ways, right? Like, just because we think something our customer has to know about that immediately, it doesn't mean that we should communicate it immediately. You need to be thoughtful about the frequency that you're doing things in. But I mean, I think that goes the other way as well, where it's like we might be sick of talking about something. Like, it might be the same thing that we feel like we've been talking about for a while. But again, looking at things from a customer's perspective and thinking about the fact that, like, if we were talking about marketing automation platform, that's not what I think about every single day, right? I have a
right,
whole tech stack, and I have a lot of other areas from a go-to-market perspective that I'm focused on. So, if a marketing automation platform solution provider says you should be thinking about this, and they think, "Oh, I already told you that a month ago," I'm probably not going to remember that.
Right.
So it's okay to repeat some of those same messages and be consistent.
Yeah, I think that's a super good point that maybe sometimes we miss. It's one of the things I spend a lot of time with some of my clients on is they'll be like, "Well, we tried all that," So I'll
Yeah.
bring up some of these basics, right? And you and I are like, "Yeah, they still work." No, they
Yeah.
don't. We tried it, it didn't work. Yeah, some of these need time to bake,
Yeah.
and they need persistence. And they might not have opened it the first time, and then
Yeah.
suddenly they hit the problem, and that email hits them, and now it's really relevant.
Yeah.
So I think you bring up a really good point about just because you don't feel like it's all resonating and you're getting this amazing feedback, and maybe your even your analytics are not showing that people are engaging, it doesn't mean trash that whole set of
Yeah.
content and
Yeah.
everything. If it's good content, if it's relevant, if it's keeping a customer on the roadmap that is the roadmap to success, just keep it going.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I like that. I think that's an important message because I think people are, let me just reinvent it again, reinvent it again, reinvent it again, right? And then you don't find anything ever working, and then every once in a while one thing will work, and then they do nothing but that, but they don't realize that worked because it hit the customer at the right timing, it was relevant, and now you think that's the only thing that's going to work.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you get the extremes going one way or the other.
Right.
um, are there other things that you can think of that are top of mind for either why you choose to do nothing or why you might rip and replace when it comes to thinking about renewals and or expanding the use of technology?
Yeah. I mean, when I think about some of those things, the areas that I gravitate towards both as, a marketer and salesperson, and or a customer, it's the basics, right? If you haven't heard from me and we haven't engaged in a really long time, um, that doesn't mean you have to be sitting in my office. Then the chances are that I might not be seeing value from from what I'm buying from you. So I think that um, establishing a regular medium of communication. And again, that doesn't have to mean that, I mean, I work at a small organization right now here at New Metric. We're not an account of the size that I get sales reps and customer success managers saying we want to come be on site at your office and things like that. It's just not the level of account that we don't require that. But hearing from them, and seeing that they are coming out with product updates and best practices content that are relevant to the challenges that are coming up in our world, are the things that matter the most. When what the solution that they're providing is no longer relevant, it's far more likely that I'm not going to be engaging with you a ton.
Right. No, I think those are great points. And I really do like it. I mean, sometimes it's what brings you to buy them, what keeps you as a customer. Sometimes on the flip side, and this is very common, becomes the fact that you don't do any of those things or you
Right.
don't do enough of those things become
Right.
why. So I like to hear it from both perspectives because I think it's really important for CSMs to understand a lot of times it really is just the mirror image. You're either doing it or you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You're either being effective or not. You're either being in a thought leader, best practice position, or you're being very tactical and just
Yeah.
trying to sweep up behind them. And so I think you brought up some really great points that are obviously what the marketing departments think about, but I think you brought up a lot of good points that a lot of organizations and leaders in other organizations are thinking about are the key for them to optimize, for them to run their organizations effectively and cost effectively. I think all those points are great around, do you know my business? Are you listening? Are you a true partner? Are you thinking about it from a best practice approach? Are you hitting me in a lot of different ways? And do you have a good communication plan for how you're going to continue to send me relevant information and help me continue seeing how you can help me to grow my business and
Yeah.
meet the changes and the demands in the market. So, thank you. That was fabulous. I so appreciate your insights. And I'm hoping that we'll continue to do these and we'll find other topics to bring you back onto our podcast. But thank you so much for all of your time. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you
So,
so much for the opportunity.
you're welcome. Well, thanks, and we'll hope to see you on the next one. So, again, if anybody would like to download this podcast, it will be available on the YouTube channel for Land and Expand as well as out on iTunes. So, thank you all, and we will see you soon.